Welcome to our crazy life.
With Clay and Wanda. Welcome to the podcast. This is Clay,
And this is Wanda.
and today we have our special guest, Bailey Coleman, because we are going to be discussing the trans community. Welcome, Bailey.
Oh, hey, well, thank you for having me on. It's always nice to get out there and get the word out. And I know our community's kind of scary, but it's it's just good to get out and spread the word of like, hey, you know what? We're just normal people.
But we'll start off as always. We always talk about like crazy stuff that's happened in our week, and
Oh,
oh, I've been dealing with my blood pressure issues, and the pill that I'm on, it's at the max dose, but it brought it down a little bit. So the pharmacist calls me, not my doctor now, because it's at the point to where I need to deal with the pharmacist.
oh my goodness.
And she was like, "Well, your only other options is a pill that we give to patients that have diabetes that'll help you with if you retain water, it'll help you like get rid of the water." Or the other one is you'll just have a nonstop cough. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't want people to think I have COVID."
You'll be going out into the public and people be like, stay away from him.
Yeah.
I think a cop at this point is automatic authorization, no matter where you're showing up.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, because she was like, "You'll just be peeing a lot with the other one." I was like, "So does that mean I'll lose weight?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like,
Actually,
"Done."
yes. Yes.
I was
My
like,
my
"Yeah."
doctor has me on Lasix and it does help with the water retention, but I don't really take it.
Yeah, today felt like the week was never gonna end. It did. Oh my God, it was just dragging. It was dragging.
Yeah.
And then it keeps
Well,
it keeps
I
raining
can't
here.
say there was much of a change for me. For me, it was pretty much a normal week. I haven't had a quote unquote weekend in at least 4 or 5 years. I work for Disney, so we don't really have. What is this weekend you speak of? I don't understand your strange alien terms. I actually haven't had a Saturday and Sunday off since I moved here in 2017. So for me, it's just kind of a normal week. I'm
Oh wow.
currently working at all the closed resorts, maintaining all the pools. So I don't actually have a lot of interaction with people nowadays. It's kind of quiet actually. So my week doesn't exactly drag so much as just flow.
That's the ideal job right there. You don't got to deal with the public. That's my kind of
That's
job.
true. That is true. There is something to be said with not with dealing with guests. We love our guests, but they can be trying.
Yeah, dealing with the
Oh,
public is not fun because we had a patient come in this week and I guess like she was upset and she pointed at me and she was like, "He told me this," and I was like turned around, at my computer, and I was like, if I turn around, I might slap a bitch.
I get you. I'm
oh
right
my.
there. I could tell you horror stories. See, what people don't really understand about Disney, but they start to understand it the closer they get, is that Disney World sends out a pulse of energy, which has now uh, evolved itself to over the phone lines and the internet, where we make people dumb. I don't know why, but perfectly normal PhD doctorates and professors will even think about coming down here and immediately lose their minds or their ability to follow simple directions and or read. It's weird. People get like a vacation brain and totally switch off and just either go the I'm super entitled route or the I'm not going to pay attention to anything that's told to me and just kind of wander around in my own days, whether I'm endangering my family or not. It's just
Oh
like,
Yeah.
gosh.
you know,
Oh, that would
So
be my kids right there just walking around like, I don't care what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, willful oblivions.
yeah, with my kids, I'm just like, eh.
Oh.
Go do your thing. That's how my parents was when we go to amusement parks. They're like, just meet us back here when the park closes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My parents were exactly the same way. Like, you know where you're going? Cool. We'll meet you up at the Opera House at noon. Cool. Right. And they would just
And
stroll
then
along.
and then they'll give you a time, and so you're like walking through, and because back in the day there wasn't cell phones, nobody
Nope.
wore a watch, so you're like walking through. I'm like, oh, I lost track of time. I didn't know it was 12:30. I'm sorry. Like,
I
oh my
was in
goodness.
line. I was in line. I didn't know what was going on. I don't not like I have a watch. My mom gave me 25 cents and said find a payphone. I'm
Yeah.
completely prepared.
Oh my.
So,
Yeah.
Wanda, how's your week been?
Um, it's been the basic. I just have to yell at my kids every day of the week. Um, and my son keeps flipping out on me. I'm the worst mom in the world. I'm like, of course I am. But you know what? You're still loved. But then I get the whole, you don't love me. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I single you out. I'm like, no, you just need to stop with your little attitude and just go on with your way. And I'm like, mm-mm. But the other day, he just decided not to get on any of his classes and then lied to us that they were over. I'm like, hmm. So his cousin is in his class, so I texted her mom and I was like, "Is Chloe's class over?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, that's what I thought." So I made him get back on it, and I'm like, "Oh." I was like, "You got to remember that I can get a hold of some of the kids in your class's parents if you say it's over 10 minutes into class." Yeah, but other than that, I mean, my week's kind of dragged along, and just nothing exciting happened. Last night I was up until the wee hours of the morning because there's something in my ceiling, and
Yep.
I'm like, what is going on up there? And I'm like, oh, you just need to leave. But kind of excited for the Super Bowl tonight. But yeah, thankfully, like my son will be at his dad's house for it because he'll sit through the game, talk about like everything. He'll reenact a play by play, and I'm like, oh my god, just shut your mouth. But yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah. That's kind of how it normally is with my kids. They're like, "Oh, you've done this, this, and this." I'm like, well, you don't love me. I'm like, you're still breathing. That's proof enough. I haven't destroyed
Exactly.
you yet. I love you. You're still here.
They they make me want to run away and pull my hair out, but I mean, they're my kids. They came from me. They're my kids. I love them just as much as the other ones, and it's just like, dude, you need to stop. You're really testing me today.
Pushing the limits.
Oh my. But didn't you get hit by a snowstorm?
We did,
That's not
and
exciting.
no, it's not. Sunday they sent Dan home early from work, and then Monday they called him off of work. So that's 2 days that he was home, and I'm like, and we couldn't do anything because there's like 3 feet of snow outside. There was literally like over a foot of snow,
Oh.
but my car was like snowed in. I couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere. I'm like, oh. Not that I want to be out driving in it anyways, because I cannot stand the snow. And then they're supposed to hit another one, and I'm like, it can just stay away because I don't want it here. So it's supposed to actually, I guess, come through like the last one did, and I'm like, if that happens, we're screwed. But then I guess it changed course. However, they can determine that it's going to change its course of action. But it's supposed to go down underneath us and then up around New Jersey, which New Jersey apparently literally got 3 feet of snow. So it's going to get smashed again. Just as long as it doesn't hit us, I'm good.
Yeah, we were just getting rain this week.
Yeah, it was raining. It was actually, I think, raining yesterday, and it's really weird because there's still all the snow outside because it doesn't melt as fast as it comes. And now it's got rain, and I actually think it's raining now. At least I hope it's raining, not freezing rain.
Yeah,
Like,
even we were getting some crazy weather. It's like some of the cold air just came and passed out drunk on our front lawn. It's been unseasonably cold here in Florida for the last couple of days.
oh
It's
my
been
goodness.
pretty cold for us. Of course, I grew up in the Virginia area and lived in Colorado and everything. So I'm like, I'm climatized. I know this now. It drops below 50. I'm like, dear God, I'm freezing my ass off. I'm done. Before it was
Yeah,
like, I was used to the cold. This was the normal thing. And I'm like running away from it because I decided, yeah, I don't like the cold. I'm good. I'm good with the
yeah.
torrential
I
downpours.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the snow and the cold. I mean, I've lived here all my life, but I really wish it would stop. And I feel like if I moved somewhere warm and it got like unseasonably cold there, I would probably be traumatized too. But then I'm like driving and this stuff whenever it got cleared out and I could actually get my vehicle out. My husband's like, "You need to slow down." I was like, "I know how to drive." I'm like, "Shut up." But
You talk to
yeah,
me? How dare you?
I'm like, I've lived here all my life. I know how to drive in the snow. I think I'll be all right. I've never physically wrecked in the snow. I've been in several wrecks, but it's been actually, I want to say over 10 years since I've had even a fender bender. So I think I'm all right. I think I can handle this.
Yeah, it is interesting when people grow up in a certain area, they very get used to driving in certain weather conditions. It's like, and Clay, I think you can attest to this. When we first got out to El Paso, I laughed my ass off because even the slightest amount of rain and people would freak out, like suddenly lose any and all ability to drive. Of course, there was no saturation point there. It was in the middle of the desert. So everything flooded. It was god awful. So just people did not know. And then when we were both in Colorado, it was like the exact opposite. It was like, oh, 12 feet of snow. It's a Tuesday. Whatever. So,
Oh my.
Yeah, it's the same way in Phoenix. Like everyone's driving all slow because it's like pouring rain, and I'm like, oh goodness. But it was the same way in Colorado when it would snow. Like there was one time it took me 2 hours to get home because everybody was going a snail pace through the
yeah.
snow.
Uh-huh. And then there was the
But
mornings
isn't,
they would drag us out for PT, and we would ice skate out to the formation.
Yep.
That was fun.
oh my god.
But then you would have those mornings where you would show up for PT, and then someone would come and be like, "Didn't you get the text message that it was
I know that
canceled?"
was the. I think you and I actually showed up one time. It's like the whole idiots just show up. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. I'm going home.
It's dedication. it's snowing, but I'm still gonna show up.
It's a very fine line.
I'm back.
Oh, you're confusing me. Like I was like, oh, we lost them. I'm like, no, not again.
But let's roll into our topics. So, what's everybody's thoughts on Biden reversing Trump's trans ban?
Thank gods. It's about time.
Yeah,
There was no
that's
reason for the ban in the first place. It was ridiculous. I actually have several trans friends that were either in the military and were getting out specifically for that purpose so they could transition. And I have another friend who desperately wants to stay in, but up until last week, they had no recourse with the previous administration. Either she could transition, or she could stay in the military. Now it looks like she can do both, which is awesome because there should be no obstacle to any American citizen that wants to serve. None.
exactly.
Well,
The
the
guy's
funny.
like
Yeah, I'll go
he's
ahead.
he's just a big bully, and he thinks that everything has to be his way. Which some of the stuff that he put in place is absurd. Like if you have someone willing to, serve in the military and fight for their country, should it matter what, you know, gender or whatever they want to identify as? like I don't understand like the whole thing behind it all, like
Well,
why he would
I
put a
think the
ban
major
on it.
issue is a lot of regular citizens that are not really informed will automatically think, "Well, great, so all of my tax money is going to go to pay for sex surgery." Ew. No, actually, the reality is that right now American taxpayers are paying more on Viagra for military soldiers and airmen and Marines and sailors than they will ever spend on gender reassignments or gender confirmation surgery.
Yep.
Simple as that. It's not going to be that much of an impact. Obviously, there will have to be some uh, policy shifts, but it's it's not that much of an impact. It really isn't. I mean, actually, to be perfectly honest, transgender uh, soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines have been serving forever. They just haven't been doing it openly.
Hmm.
Well, the funny thing for me this week was I'm on my clinical rotation, so I only show up to my unit once a week. And I swapped out Trump and Biden's picture, and people were cheering, and I was like,
Oh
calm
yeah,
down, Becky.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because like during the Trump years, he made it sound like the military is all for him. We were not.
Oh God, no, no. I was. I mean, I got out. I got out in 2016, right as he was coming in office. Like, oh, thank God. Like, I do not want to be in that in the military during that administration. Oh yeah, but I really think that it was smart because honestly, the Pentagon kind of took a wait and see attitude for 4 years. They actually focused in on a lot of internal politics, which is good because they're like, look, this crazy SOB over here is going to do whatever the fuck he's going to do. We're going to kind of take this opportunity to do some internal uh, investigations and stuff. So they actually did a lot of internal uh, interagency fixing and stuff while all the other craziness was going on for 4 years. So I think the military is actually in a better position it was simply because I think they just put the walls up and stopped listening.
Yeah. Yes, they did. I'm eating some Skittles here, so.
oh my.
No, but there was definitely a dramatic shift because, the 4 years were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us felt like we were going to eventually be imprisoned for not following
Yeah.
orders.
Oh gosh.
Well, Jesus, that's like I couldn't imagine because I was public affairs. I couldn't even imagine having to just like eat my own children while writing writing an article with even the hint of something positive about the administration. I probably just quit. I'd be like, no.
But that was the crazy thing in Phoenix because during Black Lives Matters, he didn't want to do anything about it, and there was protests everywhere, and then the protesters started going to all of the military places in town.
Yeah.
And like they showed up where I was, and they told us they're like, "Well, just fight back with whatever you can find." And I was like, "Fuck that shit."
Oh
Are you
my.
kidding me? I'm just gonna say, look, I support you. I'm gonna go over here and just have a beer. All right.
Yeah, but that was the mentality. They're like defend the building. No, I'll just open the doors for them.
And would you like some coffee?
oh my.
But that's how it was because that came like from the top, like at the Pentagon. They're like, you need don't worry about yourself. You need to be
Oh
protecting the property and stuff. And we're like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like no,
Just throw
myself
yourself in front.
matters.
Well, I mean, they were also having to deal with a narrative that they, whether, reluctantly having to deal with a narrative that all these protesters were, I don't know, enemies of the state or something. Yeah. I'm just glad that Tilly and the senior leadership had enough presence of mind and, frankly, the intestinal fortitude after the uh, photo op Bible debacle that
Oh,
they actually came back and said, "Oh yeah, this was bad idea. We're sorry. I'm sorry I even showed up on camera with this son of a bitch." Like, At least they had the presence of mind to do that.
Yeah, it was crazy here because all the protesters and everything. Oh, because I was with the MP unit at the time. I'm not anymore. And they were trying to take it into their own hands, and I'm like, you need to call the police. I was like, you're not a policeman. Call the police.
Oh gosh.
Because you get those kind of people that are like, oh, I got it, I'll handle it. No, why don't you call the cops?
No, you won't. Now go back to Target and put the plastic badge back on the shelf.
Yep.
Oh my.
Sorry, when your military surplus and your and law enforcement surplus comes from Walmart in the sporting section, you might want to sit this one out.
Yeah, because it's crazy because like a lot of gun ho people, and you're like, calm down, and like I'm not used to it because in the reserves hardly anyone's ever seen combat time.
Is for all of these years you've seen all these, and it actually became a joke. And there was even like a Lee Child novel, the Jack Reacher series about all these militia units, and like it felt. I think that was for them, like, oh, this is our time. Finally, what we've been waiting for. Finally, this is happening. And it was like, yeah, no, what we've been telling you for the last upteen, years, yeah, totally doomed to fail. Yeah, you guys kind of suck. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy, but it's like a sigh of relief. And then all my friends on Facebook are like, Biden, where's my money?
Oh goodness.
Yeah,
Everybody wants that money.
yeah. And I'm like, calm down. But I did remove one of our friends, Cassidy, from my Facebook because she put, where's my money, Biden? And I was like, well, did you get your money this quick with Trump? And she was like, yes, I got it within a day. And I was like, no, you didn't.
Oh my goodness.
And she kept going on about Trump and all that. And I was like, bye, bitch. We've been friends since elementary, but I can't take this anymore.
There is literally now an entire subsection of my family that I just do not talk to. It's like, yeah, okay, I have a pretty good idea how you feel about me, considering that all of your children went to a Ponzi scheme for college. Oh wait, that was American University. Same thing. So I have a pretty good idea what that subsection of my West Virginia relatives feel about me as a trans woman. So I kind of just don't engage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we, like it's crazy in my family. Like, I mean, I'm like the black sheep because, I made a life out of myself and left.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but like it was funny because like I was forced out to my dad from my cousin
Oh.
because she loved the drama. But then a bunch of my cousins after I came out, and then my whole family is like, okay.
Clay, what did you do?
Yeah, coming out for me was interesting because I think there was a good portion of my family that at least knew on the outside that I was bisexual. They always kind of knew that. But when I came out as trans, a lot of the reactions I actually got, like even from my kids, was like, "Yeah, we're not surprised." I'm like, "What? How did I not know? Why did everybody know but me? What the hell? This is bullshit." Like, you could have told me a while ago. Thank you. I know I am very blessed. When I came out, I've actually not really received much backlash from my family. And I know how fortunate I am because the real unfortunate thing, and you just hear all of these horror stories about trans guys and trans girls that come out, and they're just immediately ostracized. They are completely abandoned by their families. And many end up on the street in really horrible living conditions just for simply figuring out who they are. And that's why it's so distressing to see all these comments on any like normal news reports about either like somebody like Sarah McBride, the first openly transgender state senator in Delaware, or Dr. Levine, first openly transgender individual to hold a federal position. And the comments are just filled with such vitriol. It's disturbing. It's a lot of, oh, it doesn't know what bathroom it wants to use. He looks hideous. It's like, why are you so like to hate yourself so much that you really have to go out of your way to like completely marginalize an entire group of people? Like anybody who thinks we chose this is out of their damn minds. Yeah, I just woke up one day and said, let me choose the one thing that's going to ostracize myself from the rest of society, uh, put myself up for physical and mental anguish, totally destroy my marriage. Yeah, that sounds like a great fucking weekend. No, no.
Yeah,
Um,
cause when I was at Fort Huachuca, our first sergeant called our whole company into the conference room, and he told all of us, he was like, "Look, if you are not accepting of transgender soldiers," he was like, "there's the door. Get the fuck out."
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
mean,
As it should be.
and I was completely shocked. I was like, "Wow."
that that's the other thing that blows my mind is I don't get the whole turf movement. Okay, like don't get me started on J.K. Rowling. She broke my damn heart.
I
I
know.
used to go out and literally go and hang out at Diagon Alley when I was bored, or get like a pint at the Three Broomsticks. I can't do that now. It's completely tainted. And I don't understand the whole, oh, if we give trans women equal rights, we're somehow detracting from other women. That's ludicrous. That literally makes no sense, and that is unfortunately the big push in the UK right now. Is that's what they're doing with is because trans tolerance in the UK is nowhere near what it is here, and as there's still stumbling blocks in the US. Our general attitude towards the trans community is a hell of a lot more improved than the UK, which is unfortunate. Is And they're getting a lot of spotlights because they actually have some very prominent individuals. Abigail, I cannot remember her name. I'm going to hate myself. But she was the host and is the host of Philosophy Tube, which is one of the most popular YouTube channels out there. And she recently came out as trans. And it's a huge shakeup in the UK. But it doesn't make any sense. It's like, why? I mean, not like we're not forcing ourselves. Like the whole bathroom debate is ridiculous because I dare you to find a single case where a trans individual used their quote unquote bathroom privileges to spot and or molest a child. That's just ridiculous. Do you know why we want to go into an appropriate bathroom? To poop. Yeah, that's it. That's it. We want to poop.
And it's crazy because at work, I don't really like using the bathroom.
Oh God.
No, because I mean, if Alan was able to get through, like he told a story because he was stationed with me at Fort Huachuca, and like there was an article, and I had read it, and like he did not want to go to the bathroom at all because they would make them go to, because he was identifying as male, and they wanted him to go to the female
Right.
bathroom, and so he would just wait all day till he got home.
That's
I would
crazy.
normally try and seek out like the family bathrooms or the group or the non-gender specified.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I just like I said screw it, and it was ironically I was at Universal Studios with my daughter and her fiance and my granddaughter, and it was just one of these days. I was like, I really got to pee. Okay, and I beelined it into the women's room, and I just kind of acted like I'm supposed to be there. I have to pee, and it was kind of nerve wracking, and I just kind of with full grit and determination walked in, peed, and left. A little anticlimactic, but it was still an adventure.
Like, if no one knows like what you know where you're supposed to be using the bathroom like before, like compared to now, like what's it matter where you go to the bathroom? I mean, if I seen you out in public, I was like, they shouldn't be in there. It like it. What do you? like I don't understand like what's the big deal about just using the bathroom that
Well,
you
it's
want to use.
because in certain states, especially like in North Carolina, when they were trying to pass the bathroom bill several years ago, and fortunately, that it's since been scrapped. But the narrative that the right wing and conservative groups were pushing is that if we allow trans people to use their identified gender bathroom, that's just going to open it up for skeevy men and pedophiles to walk into the women's room whenever the hell they want just by saying, I identify as female. And there's even like cartoons and sketches and stuff of like skeevy, hairy men, like with cameras peeking their heads out of a women's room going, oh, I identify as transgender. It's okay.
Oh
Seriously?
my.
I mean, come on. Come on. The narratives about this community that have been built up is astounding. And for any of your listeners that have not done it yet, if you really want to get a good idea of how the media has really affected the way that the general populace sees trans individuals, is to watch the Netflix documentary Disclosure, which was produced and put together and narrated somewhat by Laverne Cox. And it's an astounding narrative on how the popular media and film and television have portrayed trans individuals through time. Like one of the most notorious at the moment, of course, is Buffalo Bill from freaking Silence of the Lambs. That's what a lot of people have this idea of freaky transgender people. It puts the lotion on its skin. I need your body. No, that's not even remotely accurate. Fortunately, they're being smart with this new show, Clarice. They tried to do a Hannibal show. Now they're doing a Clarice Starling show. I don't know why. Whatever. But fortunately, this time, they're actually reaching out to the trans community and originally reached out to one of the most well known trans activists and actors and screenwriters to help craft the narrative. And it was such a beneficial collaboration. They actually asked her to play a role as an FBI agent in this show to directly uh, bring up the god awful legacy of Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs. They're going to directly uh, engage that, which is awesome. Because if that conversation isn't had, then everybody's going to go back to, oh, well, some freaky chick that, or freaky dude that wants to cut women's skin off and wear it. No, that's not it at all.
But what was the documentary called again? Because I
It's
love a
called,
good documentary.
oh God, it's called Disclosure.
Oh, okay.
It's really easy to find. It's on Netflix. And it goes through all that. And you see how people have kind of been trained almost to have an automatic gut negative reaction to trans individuals because what's the narrative? What's the story? Oh, it's a chick and it's a dude in a dress. Ugh, oh God, haha, hilarious. Ace Ventura. God, what a funny movie. But I now look at the ending of that movie with just horror. Like I used to think that whole scene at the end where he unmasks Finkelstein and the whole turning her over and bending her over and there's her junk. I used to think that was hilarious. And now I look at that with just horror. God, how terrible is that? We've been kind of programmed to have this visceral reaction to trans people. It's dumb because all we want to do is, oh, I'm sorry, I just woke up one day and decided, oh, I was done not being happy.
Hmm.
But that's sort of the same way, like for our generation, being gay, it wasn't acceptable back in the 80s and 90s. So we were in many ways programmed to not be gay, to be straight.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, for the longest time, all you had representation in media was like, you know, people flying under the radar in Match Game. Like, you know, you just had like no real sense of any legitimate, accurate portrayal of the gay community. It wasn't there. So people kind of have this, and that's what they're going to go on. They're going to go by the stereotype, unless you send them something differently. Like one of the main causes of transphobia, and you'll hear this even like on Joe Rogan's show, after he said some really god awful transphobic crap. He goes, yeah, but I don't know any. See, that's the problem, is people don't know us, and so therefore they are afraid of what they don't know, and they don't understand us. I mean, a lot of people, because of the trans community and everything, they automatically think, oh, well, you all must have an amazing future career in sex work.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
great. I guess that's all we're good for. Sure, cool. That's why, like, the protections that the Biden administration put in, and like immediately, like shoring up all the equality assurances as part of the civil rights law that was passed to protect trans individuals in their employment. That's so important because we just, we want to live normal lives. It's like we're not trying to, literally, we just want to be treated like everybody else. It's a condition. It really is. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, it's no different from like being born with diabetes or ALDS. And yet, you have people that go out of their way to treat it like some sort of grotesque thing. I mean, you literally have groups and stores whose main source of income is selling T-shirts that say "Sorry about your dick." Really? Come on, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
I was in a unit that like a soldier was transitioning, and you have to go through the doctor and all that, and the commander was like, "What the hell? They couldn't tell me," and I told the commander, I was like, "It's none of your goddamn business."
no, it's
Right.
not. Like the whole the whole conversation. Now, trust me, as being a very curious individual myself, if you meet a trans person, your brain's automatically going to go, "Oh God!" Like surgery and blah blah blah. It's like the truth is, it's not really appropriate to ask anybody about their genitals. If you want to know, trust us, we will tell you in our own time, like in a one-on-one private conversation. But like to automatically bring it up in like public, that's just rude. But you have all these people running around acting like it's some sort of deformity when it's just a condition. I mean, are these the same people that would walk up to a child with Down syndrome? And I apologize ahead of time for using this god awful term, but do they walk up to that kid and say, sorry about your retarded? No. So why should this be treated any differently? It's something that needs to be diagnosed and treated. Period. You know, it's a mismatch between software and hardware. Easiest explanation.
Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/ourcrazylives with Clay and Wanda. If you have Instagram, we're at instagram.com/crazylives of Clay and Wanda. Twitter is at Crazy Lives of CW. We are also on YouTube. Our channel name in the search bar is Our Crazy Lives with Clay and Wanda. And you can get all of those links rolled up into one on our website at ourcrazyliveswithclayandwanda.com.
But what do you feel about this? Because like I
How
am,
do you feel about this?
cause I'm so like there is all that drama with RuPaul's Drag Race. Remember this last year, and they were
Yeah.
like RuPaul's against trans, and I'm like, what?
No, it's just it's because, well, the thing is, like, not all trans people are drag queens, and not all drag queens are trans. It's a performance art because just like not all cross dressers are trans. They just happen to want to wear opposite gender clothing. That doesn't mean they identify as that gender.
But I think a lot of people confuse the cross dressers as transgender and all of that jazz.
Well, it's there's a difference between knowing and identifying as a particular gender. I can't tell you why I particularly identify as female. I just know I do. Um, it's just like, okay, I'm going to shock all of your listeners that don't might not already know, but guess what? The Matrix is not a story about control or, you know, whether or not we actually exist or any of these highbrow, Philip K. Dickian sort of questions. It's a movie about being trans. It's a trans allegory. So, I mean, it was made by two trans women. And just like the Oracle says in that movie, you don't know if you're the one. It's like, only you can tell yourself. Only you know, balls to bones, what you are. And that's what it is being trans. And with cross dressers, they don't necessarily, some do, but identify as being a specific gender. They just happen to like, whether it's honestly a fetish or just simple preference, to dress in the opposite gender's clothing while not necessarily identifying as that gender. And I know that gets confusing, but normal people are fucking weird too. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah, the Matrix. We totally own that. Thank you. Just uh, as an example, throughout the entire movie, you have Agent Smith constantly referring to Neo as Mr. Anderson. He's intentionally deadening him through the whole movie. And that's why at that one point in one fight in the subway, Neo's like, "My name is Neo." That's kind of how we feel. It's like, "My name's Bailey, damn it." Stop stop dead naming. But that's exactly what it is. It's that feeling of not knowing. It's that feeling of control, that feeling of not being comfortable with the role that you're in.
Yeah.
I know that I am in a much better place now that I'm transitioning. I'm much happier. I've suffered from, and I too continue to suffer from bipolar and manic depression and clinical depression. Um, as a result, and also compounded uh, by being transgender. Now, a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of fairly uneducated people, I might be polite, will start screaming about, "Oh, it must be a mental condition. They're out of their goddamn minds." Like, no, no, no. Well, they're all depressed and everything. Well, yeah, you would be depressed too if every time you looked on social media and you had a bunch of assholes telling you should die simply because you exist, or have zero rights simply because, oh, I don't know, I've decided not to cry myself to sleep every night.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, we have all these severe cases and overabundant cases of young trans suicide and girls and guys that lose hope because they automatically see all these barriers. Yeah, you probably feel like shit too if somebody tried to validate your existence on a daily basis and say, "Oh yeah, no, this person shouldn't have any rights because, oh, I don't know," for whatever ridiculous reason they come up with.
But I think that's where the change is right now because Biden is like shoving it in everybody's face. Because one,
Yeah,
I forget what cabinet secretary it is, but they're trans.
it's
And
well, it's actually, I want to say Dr. Levine,
yeah,
and she actually isn't in a cabinet position, but she is in a. I'm trying to remember what's her actual position, but she's on one. She's in a government federal appointed position, not member of the cabinet, but under one of the cabinet positions.
yeah, because
So
I was following her because she's a big deal in Pennsylvania.
yeah,
Yep.
And when he picked her, I'm like, oh, I saw this coming.
yeah, but of course everybody's rallying against her supposed previous record. But then again, of course, everybody else is freaking out because she's trans and just being disgusting about it. I mean, it's bad. It's heartbreaking how just evil people can be.
But they did the same thing to Stacey Abrams because they're like, you're in debt. And she's like, of course I'm in debt, motherfucker. I want the skull.
Oh,
Because she was like, I have a doctorate. Of course I have student loans.
like which one of you doesn't?
Yeah.
Come on, you're all lawyers and shit. You should
So when you did come out to your family, were they extremely supportive or were they a
Um,
little weenie
they
towards it?
were they were a little in the weeds at first. It took them a little bit to adjust, but it was mostly getting used to the idea. Like with my mom, and of course, when I came out, she unfortunately was dealing with my father at the same time. My father had Alzheimer's, and he was in the latter stages within the last year or two. So she had just gotten through putting him in a memory care facility. And so I just finally called her one night and I'm like, yeah, so blah. And she's like, God damn it. Thanks. One more thing. I have no more fucks to give. Fine. I think if I'd hit her at any other moment, it'd probably be a much larger fallout. I mean, when I first told her that I was pregnant, when my wife was pregnant when she was 20, when I was 20, and she ran off to the church, she's no longer doing it. But what it was is she didn't quite know how to feel about it. Like she was very accepting. She didn't say anything. She just kind of let it sit, and she didn't really know. And then the one super negative experience that I can point to is that my spouse's father had a completely negative reaction. Like literally the whole, they're going to hell. They're not allowed in my house anymore. The disgust, the complete opposite reaction of everybody else. And my mom told me that that is what helped her decide how she felt about me. Because when she heard that, she went full on mama bear. Oh fuck no! Like,
Oh
oh no,
yeah.
you are not talking about my child that way. And she said that's when she knew. She knew how she felt about me. And then fast forward a month or two, last June, when we had to go up to Virginia to pick up my son from school, because I was pretty much finishing high school online with my mom, with her assistant. She's a master level educator and a former kindergarten teacher, and just wanted to have him up there while he finished school. And I got up there, and she had not seen me since I started transitioning. I mean, she'd seen pictures and everything. And what happened is I had woken up, I thought, before everybody else, and I was coming down the stairs. I stopped halfway to tell my dog that it was okay, she could go back to sleep. She stared at me and cocked her head, went, huh? And then I turn around and I see my mom sitting in the living room in a high back chair, reading, and she's just looking at me. And she just stands up and kind of cocks her head. I finish coming down the stairs, and I come in the living room, and she takes a look at me. She goes, okay, this is you. Yeah, this is me. Okay, and she just gave me a big hug, and we sat down, and I think we talked for like the next 4.5 hours or something at the table. And it ended up with her taking me upstairs and her going through her closets and giving me a bunch of clothes.
Oh.
So it was nice to have, like, nothing means more to a transitioning child than the support of a parent. I mean, if you got that, you know, you're going to be okay, I think. And it was just very sweet of her to embrace me. And it's still a long journey. She really kind of kicks herself when she gets the pronouns wrong or the name. Or she's like, look, I'm old, okay? Deal with it.
Yeah, because I think it takes a while for our parents to come around. Because my dad, oh, he was not very supportive in the beginning. But I think it takes time for them to adjust because as parents, we have this vision for our kids, and then when it isn't what we think, it takes us a while to readjust to it.
Yeah, I was not prepared to be a grandparent at 23. Excuse me, at 43. I wasn't. I wish I was 23. Dear Lord. Yeah, no, like, yeah, you do have the expectations for your kids, and when they go completely off the rails, it takes a little bit of mental gymnastics.
Because, well, at Wanda, didn't you have like some specific stuff that you were wondering about?
Well,
Oh
she
yeah, fire
actually
away.
like she actually answered a lot of my questions. I think I just like went through them. I was like answered, answered, answered. But like,
check,
would you have
check.
any advice like for any of our listeners who are going through
um,
this of how to?
if you are on this journey, it cannot be taken alone. It can't. You're going to internalize. You're going to just wake up and just you're going to go through your moments of gender dysphoria, which is the worst. And there's no adequate way for me to describe to your listeners that are not going through it what gender dysphoria feels like. Um, it's like take the worst depression you've been in and then just make it worse because you hate looking at yourself. You don't feel comfortable. You just there's something off. You know, I always thought I was a relatively happy person. You know, I had, I was really, into cosplay, and I was going to conventions, and I was, now working for Disney. But then there's always just something there that just wasn't quite right. Couldn't get quite super happy. But for any advice, is find a community, seek out support groups, don't automatically cling on to like Reddit and read everything. Look, if you're early in your transition, you're thirsty for knowledge. So you're going to seek it out anywhere. And the thing about trans people is all of us think we're right about our transition and like how, what cocktails we're using and what procedures and how everybody's going to have their own position and everybody's going to try to convince you they're right. Like, no. Use bicalutamide, not spironolactone. You're crazy. No, do it like this. Everybody's going to have their own opinions. Seek out medical professionals that really do know what they're doing and are experts in transition. Don't do this on your own. Sometimes you're forced to, and unfortunately, so many trans individuals are forced to do this on their own and like get pills off of effing Amazon, like make up some other condition just so they can get access to hormones or something ridiculous. There are resources out there that exist, and I'm going to encourage any of your listeners that might be taking this journey to look those up. I'm going to put this out there. Uh, there's a location called Spectrum Health, Spektrum. Very easy to find on online or on Facebook, and they are a LGBTQ run clinic here in Orlando, and they're about to actually expand to a second location in Breathitt County, closer to the Space Coast. And it's actually run by an individual called Joseph Knoll, Joey. He is a board certified, acknowledged uh, uh, a practitioner. He's been teaching pharmacology for years. He has been mentored by some of the best gender confirmation surgeons in the country. Even was asked to come out and help assist on some surgeries during this summer in San Francisco to help out. And the cool thing is that not only do they do in-person um, checkups and everything for whatever, he also does telehealth anywhere in the country. So if you're having issues finding a doctor that's going to take you seriously and actually diagnose you and actually take care of you, I would highly recommend seeking them out. It's a public service announcement. But don't do this on your own. Find people that you can trust. Talk. I know this is cliche, but it does. It gets better. Um, as horrible as you may feel right now, you're going to be okay. We're here for you. Seek us out. You know, you'll be okay.
And if you're comfortable with it, do you want to tell us what your worst experience has been since you've been transitioning?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't. It's not so much a specific horrible things. It's or one particularly god awful event. It's a lot of little things that are just irritating. Even something as simple as when I go like pay my rent or like go get a COVID test. For other circumstances, I have not been able to legally change my name yet or my gender marker. So every time I go into any situation, I have to present them with my very masculine looking a
Hmm.
driver's license and be like, yeah. I was door dashing and I went to a closed gate community, put my ID in the little slot next to their gate control, and this little voice from the security box uh, notifies me, "This isn't you." I'm like, okay, is this person in the car with you? I'm like, no, that's me. Yeah, this isn't you. Not anymore. So sometimes I have to talk my way into things. A lot of it has been to do with just feeling the weight of the community because we're all dealing with this, and just the vitriol that has been uh, aimed at myself and my friends. That's probably the worst part. Is just knowing that you're in this community and knowing how you feel and having to suddenly deal like with the scum of the earth, like just who hate themselves so much or just don't like themselves that they have to attack something else because it's so foreign to them. It's so weird, which makes little sense to me. It's like somebody knows they're right-handed, somebody knows this, or you have all these crazy people that are screaming about the Super Bowl today and like planning to have Super Bowl parties, even though it's a really bad idea. Like, yeah, but what if somebody started posting on Facebook that if you like, you know, one team over another, you should be. Oh wait, never mind. They actually do that in the NFL. They think your family should be less if you like the Dolphins or something. I don't know. So I stopped trying to figure out the NFL. But just knowing that all of that sick, you know, just mean nastiness is directed at you. You know, just like there are legit people out there like you agree with the Proud Boys, find a tranny and choke her out. Like, come on. Really?
Oh my goodness.
That's
Oh yeah, there's been so much of that like over the past couple years with the trans community. They become targets.
Oh, absolutely. It's like any other marginalized group. The moment we start getting a spotlight, the moment we start getting a little ahead, it's like, oh, no, 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 you can't have that. We can't have anything new.
Now, how do you feel about how Caitlyn Jenner sort of became the face of the trans community?
Uh, terrible. She is definitely, she definitely does not, at least from my opinion, does not represent the general idea of the trans community. Now, on one hand, uh, the visibility was great. Like, oh my God, Bruce Jenner, this pantheon of '80s manliness, is suddenly a trans. Like, okay, that part of it, cool. It's notoriety. But she's also a bitch, so it doesn't help. Like, but it definitely does not represent the greater community. Somebody like definitely like Laverne Cox or somebody like that definitely speaks more for the community.
Yeah.
Abigail Thorne, that's who I'm thinking of. Thank you very much, Frayne. Actually, she has a video of when her coming out video. It's probably the classiest coming out video I've ever seen because it's from the Philosophy Channel. I highly suggest that you try and find it if you can on YouTube. It's fantastic. But yeah, that's definitely a better voice for the community.
Yeah, because when I see people like from RuPaul's Drag Race or people that I know that come out as trans, I'm like, okay, I'm not the type of person that's like, what? What is wrong with them? I just see it. I think I wish more people would be like that. They'd be like, oh, okay.
Oh, trust
And
me,
Yeah.
trust me.
yeah.
I don't know about anybody else, but Elliot Page was a complete shocker to me. I was like, really? Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. My trans radar was completely off on that.
Yeah, because there was like, oh, so many drag race queens that have transitioned, and I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. But I mean, I think that's the whole big struggle right now is because a lot of people think that them being trans gives them a level up, and people really don't like that.
No.
Yeah.
Trust me. Having to live with the daily struggle of trying to make yourself passable and look decent, it's definitely not. It's definitely not a bonus. If nothing else, they should be given extra points.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Oh
It's
my.
not easy. I've done the gambit. I've done laser hair removal, which is not comfortable. Let me tell you.
Ooh.
A lot of people will tell you, "Oh yeah, it's supposed to be like a rubber band smacking you in your face." Yeah, if that rubber band was connected to a 12 gauge needle being
Ooh.
thrust into your lips, sure. Um, um, and so I'm just doing what I can and making the plans. I will go so far as to say I have had breast augmentation surgery as of December. That I will, and it's like a whole new world. Like it's literally for me, it was like kind of a phantom limb situation where the girls were always supposed to be there, but they weren't, and now that they're there, it's like really cool.
Yeah, because I had asked you when you were going through it, I was like, "Are you going to be getting the double D's?"
No, no,
Oh
no,
my
no.
goodness.
I only went with the C's, okay? So I did the whole. The cool thing was I actually got. Okay, I kind of cheated a little because when I was going in for my consultations, my spouse and my mom and everything were joking like, "You want to just take some fat from us and put it in your boobs?" Like, sure. And I actually was, as a joke, gonna ask my plastic surgeon, "Hey, can you take some of this beer gut and put?" And I didn't even get a chance to ask. He flat out offered. He's
Oh.
like, "Oh, we can take this, 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 and this, and this." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So I got a flat stomach and boobs out of the deal. So,
Oh wow.
I kind of
Oh
cheated a
wow.
little. Yeah. So I got silicone and fat grafting. Of course, the fat grafting left me looking like I was hit by a Mack truck, and I was bruised horribly. I'm sure you saw some of the pictures
Yeah.
I was sending out. I was bruised horribly, but it was a couple weeks of recovery, but it was fine.
So, a question that I've been wondering is, how are your kids dealing with like every stage that you've been going through?
They are actually honestly nonplussed. Like my 24-year-old daughter is like, "Look, I always knew there is no way on earth that some god is going to be able to look at a Victoria's Secret bra and tell you whether or not it's going to fit and be right. There is no way. Obviously, something was wrong. Obviously, something was up. There's no way that you should have been able to do that. And she's actually fine. I mean, she's fine. She is actually happy. She wants to like take me out shopping. The
Oh.
19-year-old, he also is nonplussed. He's like, whatever, just it doesn't bother him. Like, whatever, it's not. It does not. Um, the 5-year-old, on the other hand, that's a little bit different. He doesn't quite understand what's going on, but he's supporting me in his own way, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's Dammy now. Okay, so I kind of picked up the moniker of Dammy, Dami. We sort of went through a list of alternatives for dad, and we just sort of kind of fell into that one. So the kid's first name is Dammy, and for him, it's just like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. La 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 la, dinosaurs. You know,
Oh my.
my granddaughter is not gonna really know me as anything else. And she just turned 2 last June. She'll turn 3 this year. So for her, it's going to be normal.
Yeah.
I'll always be Mamaw. I was never Papa Yoda. Yes, I was given the moniker Papa Yoda when I first entered into grandparenthood, and this is actually a suggestion from one of my leaders at Disney at the time, actually. So, hey, Papa Yoda. So for her, I'll always be Mama. So I fortunately have had a lot of support from my kids, and it hasn't been that disruptive. I mean, they're 24 and 19. It really doesn't affect them. The 5-year-old, well, we think it's gonna be okay.
So how has Disney been with your transition?
Oh dear God, they are like the best company to work for, as far as being in the LGBTQ community. Like, oh my God, they are. I don't know why Disney has like such this reputation of being like uber conservative, but actually we're a really progressive company and have gone on HRC's top 100 best places to work for the LGBTQ community. My transition with Disney was actually really easy, and I kind of used the pandemic to my benefit actually. What happened is, of course, we all shut down. I'm normally the mistress of pools at Port Orleans Resort, Riverside, and French Quarter here at Disney World. And I normally am maintaining the pools and the pump rooms, and checking the chemical balances. That's what I do. But after the shutdown, I was actually brought back in April, the same day that everybody else was furloughed. Me and 9 other pool attendants and coordinators from across property were brought on to begin maintaining the pools for all the closed resorts across property. So we've been doing that for the last 10 months. And as we've opened up resorts, the team has shrunk as people go back to where they have status. My resort's still not open, so I'm still every day maintaining the pools at Port Orleans and the All Star resorts. Which, if you know anything about Disney World, it's our uh, economy resorts. By no means quality, just it's out of the 3 tiers, it's the lowest tier. And what happened was, while everybody else was calling to get information on the furlough from HR, I had already let my direct leadership at Port Orleans know that I was transitioning, and a couple of my coworkers, and they were all fine with it. There was one supervisor I was completely waiting to flake out on me. He didn't, fortunately. But I called Disney HR and I said, "Hey, yeah, so I'm trans and I'm gonna." And, oh, cool, cool. What do you need? Like, I had to jump around a couple different phone calls because I had like 3 or 4 different human resources cast members calling me from Anaheim and from New York and from here, because they were all working off the same list of people that signed up to call HR. So they actually got me over to somebody that actually used to run the the transgender awareness slash accommodation group for Disney. So they immediately assigned me a accommodation counselor. Just asked what I needed. Told me, hey, as long as you follow Disney Look guidelines for your assigned gender, you be you. Do your own thing. Congratulations. Good luck. Do you need anything? If our cosmetologists that work on the princesses weren't furloughed right now, they would give you tips on how to do your makeup.
Oh
We got
wow.
this group, this group, and this group. And then they just went, okay, hey, if you want to go on the HUD and change your known as name, go ahead and do that. So I was actually, in the short period of time that I actually was not working during the shutdown, I actually got to show up to a new group of coworkers, with the exception of 1 or 2 that I'd known from before, as me. So it's like getting to start over. So none of that group has ever known me as anything other than Bailey. So it worked out, but yeah, the company as a whole has been just fantastic. And we actually have a lot of transgender cast members, more than I was even aware of.
Oh wow. That sounds so encouraging.
It was
Definitely
very.
does.
So, is there any good advice that you would give our listeners? Because I know you gave some advice, but what would you say would be like your top advice that you would be giving to anyone that's transgender?
Um, Stay true to yourself. I mean, if you honestly, in your bones, know that you are, don't lie to yourself. Be who you are. It's gonna be hard. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really fucking hard. But it is worth it. And it is survivable. And if for some god awful reason, of which I would never wish this upon anyone, if you come out and you are, for some god awful reason or some stupid excuse that they'll come up with, thrown out, uh, no longer accepted by your family, guess what? Hi, I'm your new mama bear, and I've got a whole shit ton of friends behind me that got your back. Okay, we got
Yeah.
you. Be you. It gets better. Don't be afraid to move on. Don't be afraid. I mean, if it's not for you, cool. And to those individuals that are not transgenders, your general listeners, look, it's not hard. All we want to do is just be treated like a normal person. Just let us, I know it's so weird. It's creepy and scary. Oh my God, this weird trans chick. Ah! What the hell? It's not normal. Look, we're your friends, we're your neighbors, we're your coworkers. It's like, it's nothing. It's not an issue. Celebrate the transition. Celebrate your friends and family being happy. Celebrate their life. Don't condemn them just because they're trying not to be sad. Oh my God, I just wanted to not want to kill myself. Oh no. So just patience. Patience, patience, patience. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. When you take that estrogen tablet, you want to just be able to wake up the next day and go, "Oh my God, I've got bees." It's not going to happen overnight. We all want it to, but just give it time. You are loved. You are loved. Okay. You are by no means. There's no not being trans enough. There's not being too trans. You are you. Okay, you're perfectly valid and you're perfectly acceptable, and you're all supposed to be here. Okay.
I love that advice about not letting other people condemn you because all my life when I was growing up, I had an uncle that was gay, but back then, he was shunned from the family and not talked about. And when I finally came out to my grandmother before she died, she said that she always knew that I was gay, and she said that my uncle was her favorite because I think it was her sister's son, and she said that she just was upset that people couldn't just accept him for who he was at the time.
Yeah.
But look where we are now.
I know, right? We got a cabinet secretary. Ha ha! So
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like it's funny, is because there's a lot of that narrative where like your family members will come up to me and say, "We've always known." Like, well, shit. Could have told me. Thanks. Could have,
Because
could have,
I don't think anybody there. I don't think anymore there is a normal person.
No, God, no.
No.
Normal's stupid. Normal's boring.
Because, I mean, everybody has their own life journey, and, because they say that everybody is born bisexual, that's what I hear
Right?
a lot. Yeah, hey, Wanda.
Oh God,
Oh
yeah.
my.
I just backing everybody else up. The
Oh my
world's a
God.
smorgasbord. The world's a smorgasbord. I'm just going to take bits and pieces from here and there.
Oh my
Look,
goodness.
I'm the kind of person who'll walk in and get a chili sampler platter. You gonna say something? Okay.
so we
Oh.
so we all walk through like our own journey and figure out what works for us. I guess that's what that thinking is.
true.
I loved your reaction, Wanda. What?
Yeah.
Shut
Yeah,
up,
you know what? I don't understand, but okay.
Oh,
Just over here doing my own thing.
There's actually a biological imperative that we're supposed to be attracted to both sexes. Is actually in there. We just, just been kind of wired one way or the other. That's how it is.
Oh, well, that's our show for today. And on our website and on our social media, we're going to put out links to help anyone that is struggling with being transgender. And I am so thankful that Bailey was able to join us this morning.
Oh, it's
Thank
my
you,
pleasure.
too.
Because this was a very informative podcast, which I think is amazing because we're starting to get people from Australia and England listening to our podcast. So your message is definitely going to get out there far and reaching.
Okay, so if it's going out, look, everybody in every other country, we're sorry. Okay, it's not our fault. We apologize for everything this country is doing. We're just sorry. It's not us, really.
Oh,
We're
boy.
apologizing ahead of time.
Well, until next time, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Our Crazy Lives with Clay and Wanda, brought to you by Anchor.fm. You can visit our website at ourcrazylivesofclayandwanda.com. You can head over to our YouTube channel, search for Our Crazy Lives with Clay and Wanda. Our Instagram, you can find us at Crazy Lives of Clay and Wanda. And our Twitter is at Crazy Lives of CW. And our theme music song is See Me Through.